Finally, we come to our special guest speaker for today. Devyn Prelip is a former Miss Wisconsin for America, full-time employee, part-time graduate student, and domestic violence awareness advocate. Today, Devyn is here to share her story and what led to her decision to become a living kidney donor. Devyn?
Wow, thank you so much. All I can say is sitting in my chair listening to every other speaker, all I can think about is, wow, what I would do to have infinite number of kidneys to just give away to everyone who needs one. So first of all, thank you, Mark and Lynn, for having me. I'm completely flattered that you invited me here to be part of your event. I agree that advocacy and awareness, this is the only way that we're going to get the word out. This is the only way that other people are going to learn about how kidney donation is an option when you're alive, and there are people out there who are ready and willing to do that. They just don't know it's possible. So for my story, I want to start from the beginning. By a show of hands, tell me who here has heard of the village of Warrens, Wisconsin? All right, I'm impressed. So Warrens is the place that I call home. It's where I grew up on my grandparents' cranberry marsh. I had the best childhood in the best place with the best family. And my only neighbors were my grandparents on one side, my aunt and uncle on the other side, and then we didn't have any neighbors for about a mile down the road. So to say we were close is definitely an understatement, but how fortunate am I to grow up riding four-wheeler, playing in the dirt with my brother and my cousins, and just taking each day as so much fun and a new adventure. And I was so blessed, not only with a great family that was so close in proximity, but the world's best mother, and she was the most special person I have ever met to this day. She loved nothing more than to embarrass me and my brother. It was a daily goal of hers that she frequently achieved. She was also just a compassionate friend, a sister, and a nurse at our local hospital where she worked. She was in the OB department where she brought life into the world every day as a nurse. And my gosh, when I tell you she made an impact, we could hardly go to the grocery store, Walmart, the only one in my hometown, without someone stopping us and saying, "Hey, Teresa, this is my son. He's 3 years old now. Do you remember delivering him?" And she would nod and smile. And she just had this special way of making such an impact on people just by who she was and what she was able to give and what she brought to our small community every day, which was her complete 100% compassionate self. When she wasn't busy at the hospital, she was driving me and my brother around to gymnastics practice or wrestling practice and finding fun ways to surprise us, whether it was a concert or a new outfit laying on our bed for us just because. She was so good at those just because moments. And something that, all those small things, I think we could all do a little bit better of a job appreciating every day. And that's something that I know I work on every single day. So here she is, Teresa. As you can see, there's pictures of me, Mom, and my brother. She just really was just this light and just a really amazing person. Which brings me to July 22nd, 2009. My brother was away with my uncle at a motocross race, and something they frequently ventured. And I was home with Mom, and as you heard earlier, we were way out in the middle of nowhere, so nights were quiet and calm. And this was a special night because my mom tucked me in just like she did every night, but this time it was my 15th birthday was the next day. And so it was tucking me in for bed, turning on my favorite movie, which I believe at the time was Austin Powers. And she promised me breakfast in bed for my birthday in the morning, just like she did every year. And so she tucked me in, and I was just about asleep. And it was late at night, maybe around 10 o'clock, and I heard a loud knock at the door. And that was not something that happened when you lived way out where I was. I didn't think too much of it. I thought maybe my brother had come home and he was somehow locked himself out of the house. So I rolled over, heard my mom walk past my room and down the stairs. And it was then, within moments, I heard the front door come flying open and hit the wall. And then I heard my mom screaming. I launched out of bed and locked my bedroom door, not knowing who was in my house or what was going on, and called 911 right away. The following moments were me trying to talk to the operator on the other line, scared to death, not knowing who was in my house or what was going on. The next thing I heard was screaming, arguing, glass breaking, and then a really loud bang. And it was then that I realized that the person that was in my house was my stepfather, who had separated from my mom just a month before. Without getting into too many terrible details, the next thing I remember is going to the hospital, the same one that my mom worked every day, and sitting in the emergency room waiting area with our friends and family, having no idea if my mom was okay. And just like the scene out of a movie, the doctor walked out and looked at all of us and said, "I'm so sorry. We did everything we could." And my best friend, my mom, was gone. And my life changed forever. And I would be lying if I said those following days and months or even years were easy, because that's just not true. I'm thankful that she raised us in this way to be strong and resilient and keep going despite all adversity. But I went through dark times. My family went through dark times, just trying to make sense of what happened and why it happened to me, why this had to happen to my family, and where are we supposed to go from here? And it was during those darkest times that I started to focus on the good, because that's what my mom did, and that's all I knew how to do. That was my only way to cope. And the facts were that I was alive. I had the most wonderful support system, and I had to keep going, because that's what my mom wanted for me and for my family. I will never forget the first time that I heard about living organ donation. I was sitting in my high school psychology course, and my teacher did a daily story usually about, what's in the news, because, what high schooler is doing that on their own? And it was a special day because he started talking about the story of a son donating a kidney to his dad. And I just sat in my chair absolutely fascinated, because of course I heard about, you can donate your organs after you pass. I had no idea that you could do this while you were alive. So I became extremely fascinated, and I did tons and tons of research, and I was like, wow, what organs can you donate? How do you donate? Who do you donate to? I just had so many questions. And at 17 years old, it seemed pretty far-fetched that I would be so curious, and that I would ever end up being able to do just what I read about or what I heard about in my high school psychology class. And so at 17, I picked up the phone and called, and I said, "Hello, I would like to donate my kidney." And they kind of giggled at me when I told them that I was 17. They're like, "I'm so sorry, you have to be of age." And as much as I tried to negotiate a permission slip of sorts for me to be able to still do it as a high schooler, the answer was no. And so I said, okay. So I waited another year. Great, I'm 18. It was probably days or weeks after my 18th birthday, and I called back. I said, okay, I'm 18 now. How do we do this? And they're so polite to send me essentially a questionnaire that I filled out, and they still thought, you know what? You're 18 years old. You don't have any idea what you want to do. You're just too young. We don't want you to go through this quite yet. We really want you to think about it and come back to us if you're still thinking about it in a few years. So in spring of 2015, this was my senior year of college, and I called back. I said, hey, remember me? I still want to donate my kidney. And finally, they felt ready to kind of take me a little more seriously. And I went through months of physical testing, mental evaluations, and I got the most special call. I was working my college job at a bank, and my coordinator called me and said, you've been approved to donate. And I was just so excited. Of course, during all of this, the biggest challenge for me was getting my family on board because, and I rightfully so, I can't imagine a 21-year-old coming up to their parent and saying, hey, Dad, I'm going to donate my kidney. I hope that's okay. I think a lot of my family kind of thought, here goes Devyn on one of her adventures. It probably won't totally happen. And then it became very real, and it was really tough. That was the toughest part, was to get people to understand the why. That was the most common question that I got. Why would you do that? Why would you put yourself in danger? What if, that was another one that I got a lot. What if you need one in the future? What if your future child needs one? What if you regret it? And this was something that I wasn't ready to articulate because I just didn't know how to explain the why. It was just this burning feeling that I had. You know, that feeling like some people have when they're like 10 years old and they want to become a doctor and then they do. Or that feeling of, I want to become a mom someday and I'm going to do, that's my purpose in this world. Well, my purpose was to donate one of my kidneys. It was that same feeling that no matter what anybody told me, it was something that I was going to do. I've never felt more sure of anything in my life. And so in August of 2015, I became a non-directed living kidney donor. And the surgery was a textbook success, which is great. And I joke with my surgeon to this day. He called me the bionic donor. Because, you know, they're so used to operating on sick people. And here I am, a 21-year-old former gymnast, and they were just not used to cutting through someone so healthy. And he's like, wow, you're like bionic. And we joke about that to this day. So I spent 3 nights and 4 days in the hospital, and everything went pretty dang well. And I'd be lying to you if I said that the recovery process was a cakewalk, because it most certainly was not. This is a major surgery, and I'm so dang lucky to have the best recovery place on earth, and that is my lovely grandma's house. She's up front here. She took me in, and it's funny how roles were reversed there. She was taking care of me, and I felt like the old lady, let me tell you. Walking to the bathroom was like running a marathon. And I slept in her living room chair for weeks because I couldn't get into bed. And I couldn't help but smile all the time, even though it was so ridiculous. And I lived off of her desserts and puppy chow until I could get my appetite back. And thank goodness. With all that said, recovery process, sure, that was hard. Sure, the evaluation was hard. Sure, convincing my family that this was an okay thing to do, that was really hard. But I would do it again. Not 1 ounce of my being regrets what I've done. And one thing they warn you about when you donate is, you know, there's a chance that you'll never know who received your kidney, and you have to be okay with that. In fact, it's pretty common that you don't know. And that was just a funny thing for me because it never occurred to me to even ask that question because it didn't matter. What mattered was that someone needed it and I had it and I could share. And I was so lucky that 6 months after surgery, I received a call from my coordinator, and she said, you have a letter coming to you from your recipient's family. And I remember I was walking on college campus, and I just couldn't believe it. I said, how lucky am I? So I stalked my mailbox for like a week, waiting for this letter, just so curious as to who received my kidney and how are they doing. And pictured here is the letter and a drawing. And the drawing is from my kidney recipient, who was a 15-year-old girl who was living her life on dialysis, who doesn't have to do that anymore. And because of that, she can have dreams now just like any other kid. She's going to go to art school someday. She can go to prom, and she can grow up, which is something that so many of us have taken for granted because it's a gift. And I think it's when I received that letter that I figured out the words, how to articulate why I donated. My mom brought life into this world every single day, just completely selflessly. And I thought, what better way to honor her life than to give life to somebody else? And that fact that my recipient was a 15-year-old girl, the same age I was when I lost my mom. It was just the most special, profound moment of my life. And I am unbelievably grateful to be standing here 6 years later, healthy and able to stand in front of all of you with complete vulnerability and just ask you to start thinking about, instead of asking people why or what if, start asking why not. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Devyn. Real quickly, want to remind people that Brenda Cortez has her books over there if you'd like to take a look at those. Also, Mark is a finalist for the USA Today Humankind Triumph of the Year program. Go online and find that link and vote. As he mentioned, it is closing very soon, so get your vote counted today. And Mark and Lynn, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk. With that, I hope in Kidney Share 2.0 next year that we'll have tissues for everybody. I know I'll need some. And Mark, your work, and Lynn, your work has been amazing. And out of central Wisconsin, who would have ever thought, right? You guys are inspirational, and we can't thank you enough. So thank you to OSO for having everybody here, and thank you everybody coming today. It's been a great event. Thanks.